We're live, Chair.
Thank you very much. So, welcome everybody to the Cabinet Asset Management and Markets Working Party. And first of all, can I have apologies and substitutes, please?
Yes, Chair, we have apologies from Councillor Megan Swift, and Councillor Patient is substituting for Councillor Swift.
I wondered what you were doing here. I didn't feel it could be just for the sheer joy of coming to it.
I could detect the confusion in your face, even over the digital airwaves, Sylvia.
Yeah. Yes, I'd not make a good poker player, would I? Okay, so next is members' interests. Just reminding you of the need, any members of the need to declare any disclosable pecuniary interests or other interests they might have in relation to the items included on the agenda. And Howard.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just to confirm, I'm the co-chair of the Big House Towndale Board and a director of the Big House Bid, just in case. I know those are on the agenda, nothing specifically, but just to know some interest. Thank you.
Thank you. And I don't think the Todmorden Board really comes onto it, but obviously I'm a member of that as well, and I'm not seeing any other members indicating. So we can move on to the next item, which is admission of the public. So this meeting is open to the public, except that under Section 100A, bracket 4, bracket of the Local Government Act 1972, it is recommended that the public be excluded for item number 9, disposals and acquisitions update. And that is on the grounds that it might involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in the stated paragraph of Part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Act, which is paragraph 3, financial or business affairs. And obviously that's at the end, so the live stream can be switched off before we get there. Okay, so we then get to the minutes of the meeting held on the 21st of December 2023. Does anybody have any comments on those or matters that want to raise as a result of them? No, I'm not seeing anything. In that case, is a member's content for me to sign those as a correct record? Okay, thank you. Sorry, I think of them. Excuse me. Thank you. So that takes us on to first substantive item of the day, which is the project update. And who is doing that for us today?
It's myself, Chair.
I'm trying to see you. Where are you?
Janet Whitlow.
Janet. Hello, Janet.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, you're there for fun eventually.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. You've obviously all received the report as part of the package for the meeting, so I don't intend to go through line by line for you, but I thought it'd be interesting to pull some details and highlights out for you, just to bring you up to speed on where we are. So since I last came, which was 6 months ago, we've made substantial progress, particularly when you look at the high street funded area of projects in Halifax, the Borough Market and the Victoria Theatre. The Borough Market in particular, which our CAFAM team are delivering directly, is moving at pace. And for those of you that have walked through recently, you will see what a lovely light space it is becoming with that. I'm looking at John in the corner of my eye as I'm talking, obviously, as well. The light in there and the changes that have been going on with the new stalls, and they are starting to open up the under the clock to start realising that output as well. All moving well. The toilets have been opened for some time now, and feedback has been positive on the public toilets, so that's good news as well, generally for the town centre as well. And we're looking at generally the majority of the work to be completed by July 2024. Moving on, just Victoria Theatre. Good news here, since last I came in and talked to you, we have a contractor on site who started in November, a company called Morris and Spottiswoode. Moving again at speed, stripping out, which was if I was to look at from a risk management point of view, that's the nervy bit with a listed building, when you start stripping things out and the unknowns that you may come across when you start to do that. All has gone well. We've found some interesting artefacts as well, which we're passing on to our museum colleagues, just out of interest, that's coming out of the basement at Victoria Theatre. really this is a key one for us as major projects, working really closely with the theatre team and ensuring that there's no impact on the bookings that are already in there and making sure everything's running as normal. Again, positive feedback I had from a member of last week who advised me they'd been to a show and hadn't even noticed what was going on behind the hoarding. So it feels like that's working well behind the scenes. And so it'll be quite interesting when it's all opened up and we get that accessibility and the new lifts in there, which is making it a lot more accessible for more people. We're looking at summer 2024 there as well, so well on the way with that on programme. I've popped Mixington Hub in here as well. As you can see, the construction is just about complete on the hub itself, the building. It's now down to internal fixtures and fittings, and it's more the outside work. We are waiting for, at the moment, anybody who goes around the area at the moment, utilities are digging up the road to increase the electricity supply into the hub. That's what's going on there. And we are waiting for our neighbour on the adjoining plot to the Mixington Hub to complete his work on his party wall. He's started work there and it's impacted on the groundworks on our side of the boundary there. So he has to put something right there so that we can then finish the car park. So that's that. Ellen Future High Street, one for John here as well, where we completed that on the 9th and was opened successfully, the new market, on the 9th of February. Construction company there is Eric Wright, and they're doing everything else within Ellen High Street as well, all the public realm work. Halifax New Leisure Centre, REBA Stage 2 review is complete, and we're now working in REBA 3, which is the developed design. Again, more detail on those internals. We are in the next few months market testing as well for construction contractors to see how that lies. And I expect to be coming to Cabinet in early autumn with an update there. And then the other two, which are further ahead, but looking forward and bringing you up to speed where we are with Brighouse and Todmorden Towns Fund, particularly the market now work there. Tender process has now been completed for the construction contract for the market. That will be announced shortly. We're just going through the contract period now before we can announce that, but that will be ready to go. Alongside that, the work has been done to about the temporary market for the traders. This is going to be on Daisy Street car park and will be containers. It will be based there, probably a lot nicer than the traders currently have, hopefully, as well. So they'll like the temporary market even before they get the new market. And that will run concurrently at the same time. We'll have dates in the next month or so from the contractor about the programme of delivery and also the opening date for when we can do the temporary market. And then Todmorden, again, the project that we're delivering within major projects is the Public Places project within the Todmorden Towns Fund. And that again is around the markets area. That's at early concept design stage. And the team have done extensive public stakeholder work in since January, really, many public consultations going on there, gathering feedback and input into designs and what the communities, individuals, the market traders and others within Todmorden, what they really want from that space. That's a whistle stop. There's more detail obviously in the report there, but just sort of highlighting for you. And just on a general note, which hasn't changed hugely from last time, but I just wanted to highlight that it feels, when I look at financial implications and risk generally in construction and the work that we do, certainly seeing again, it has remained stable now for some months as inflation. If we do just a mid-year comparison of 2022, sector-wise, it was about 11% inflation, and in 23 it was at 4.6, and it seems to have held since there. So from an inflation point of view, that's much appreciated, certainly on all our behalves. There's still issues with labour, increased costs within labour when you look, but if you look generally at a market, you know, for staffing, not just construction, but particularly in that area, it's still you're looking at 10% increases year on year, and also a struggle to get skilled construction staff because there are so many nationwide construction and civil engineering projects taking place at the moment. So that's probably more of the one there that concerns us more now than the actual rate of inflation. And the same remains with our skilled staff that we have within our teams across the council that we need to deliver these projects. We've got some great team members, and it's about keeping them on board and keeping them on the projects that they're working on. So just a bit of a sector where we are from that point of view. And if you've got any questions.
Right, thank you very much, Janet, for the report and for the summary today. So I've got Howard.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, thank you very much for the really positive report. I think it's really exciting all these projects are taking place. I think just to manage people's expectations in relation to anyone listening out in the public domain is that actually, whilst we're looking towards a temporary market, that's just literally going through the planning process. So it's not going to just take place, unfortunately. I wish it would just take place tomorrow and we could just get going with that. On another positive note, actually, in relation to the parklets, because we had two big parklets outside the old markets, which we are donating to community groups, and we had a real successful application process, and two community groups will be announced as who they are going to be donated to and used in the community. That's one of the things. One of the other things I've been asked to raise as a corporate parent coming to this committee is actually number 42 Market Street. I know it's not directly relating to the market, but it's adjoining to the market, and really wanted to know what the plans are there, because I know the fostering team wanted to have a bit of a pop-up shop, but they've come across various difficulties. So if somebody could perhaps provide me with any answers to that would be most helpful. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Howard. And I'm not sure that's directly related to this item, but I don't know whether anybody can give any answer to that. I
will say, unfortunately, I can't, but I would think somebody from the asset team would be able to get back to you on that, Councillor Blackburrow. But I know Steve's got his hand up. Yeah, Steve?
Yes, just with regards to the fostering request, we have had some discussions with the fostering team previously, and the request, we asked for clarification of the request at the back end of last year. That's exactly what it was required for, because it originally was for thought to be for a shop front, but then it seemed to be turning into a greater requirement for office use as well. So we're still waiting clarified.
Okay, thanks, Steve. So I don't know if you can take that back, or to the people who raised it with you, Howard, to make sure there's no misunderstanding about what's been.
Yeah, no, I certainly will do it. It was one of those. I'd gone to the last corporate parenting board and I thought I've never mentioned it, and no, it's not part of this specific item. But I thought, what's the team on board? So my apologies for hijacking the agenda item. So my apologies on that.
Okay, thank you. Joe.
Yeah, thank you very much for that report, Janet. I just wanted to ask about the leisure centre in terms of the stage right now. I appreciate obviously it's relatively early stages and there's quite a long way to go. Are we still looking at roughly the same kind of timescales that we were told, I believe, in about October last year? There was a talk of early 2026. I appreciate it's too early to say, but we kind of in that ballpark still.
Yeah, we're Councillor Thompson, we're aiming for that. It will be the work that we're doing now, market testing and seeing interest, and also then once we get to the stage of the completion of the design, reassessing the delivery programme. But that's the aim. And
just on that, obviously, I know when this originally came up and there was the original designs, there was quite a lot of pressure because nationally there was a lot of funding going out to deliver similar projects. Have those pressures actually started to ease now, or is that still ongoing?
It feels a better situation than it did in sort of late 2022, which was when the last detailed cost plan was that we had at that stage. And sort of linking to that I was talking about with inflation, and at that stage it was whoa, it was on that upward trajectory. So yes, it does feel comfortable. It will be when we get out to the market and see what's coming through. But we've done quite a few in the last 12 months, smaller procurement exercises, and it's been positive in that within the budgets we've anticipated that we've built around the designs and the cost plans that we receive, we've been coming in something similar to where we expected it to be, rather than what it was looking at in 21 and 22. So we're hopeful, yes, that we'll get it there.
Good stuff. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So I was just going to say that I haven't tried the toilets in the market yet, because every time I've gone past, there's been a long queue. So they were obviously missed and much appreciated again. And the only other thing I wanted to say in relation to the Todmorden Town Board and the public places is that I think everybody's been really pleased with the consultants that you've employed on this occasion, because this has been going on for a long time and various people have been involved, but this group really seem to have got to grips with it and have really made a determined effort to speak to traders, if necessary, by buttonholing them when they're actually on the stall, instead of waiting for them, the stall holders to come to them. So and the drop-in, I think, was also, it seemed to be being a lot more positively received than perhaps some of the previous versions have been. So I hope we are actually finally getting to the stage where we know what's going to be done there, and that it's going to have understanding and support behind it. Okay, Scott.
Yeah, thank you. It's just on the last point really that you raised about the toilets, and yeah, they have been very popular. I have had a chance to use them, and interestingly, they've proved very popular with the Doctor Who fraternity because of the colour and typeface that you've used for it. Makes it look a little bit like the TARDIS. So kudos on that. I just wonder with regards to the fact that we've got some great new toilets there, but we're going to be losing some at George Square as part of that sort of redevelopment and stuff. I'm just wondering what the opportunity for a little bit of more clever wayfinding in regards to public convenience is as part of some of the regen work that's happening in Halifax. Appreciate I'm stepping outside of, markets and Catham and into the world of major projects, but just I guess a plea so that more people are aware of what facilities are where.
Yeah, Councillor Patient, if I can just come back there, I think it's something that's been identified, particularly at the Halifax Town Board as well, and linking to the wider wayfinding across the whole town as well, which needs a review. It's been, as I understand, the last time it was discussed, because of all the civils work going on as well with phase 2, it was decided that it would be looked at in one process and one go, which so both the road wayfinding and the pedestrian wayfinding, and then specifics that we want to highlight, because as you know, we have so many different versions of wayfinding at the moment within Halifax. It needs that more consistent approach and review. So I do know it is on the radar, that it's something that it needs to be looked at.
Okay, so I'm not seeing any more hands up. So I think that's really just for us to note and thank everyone for the effort that's going into not only the report, but obviously all the work behind it. Okay, thanks. So we then move on to item 6, which is the market communications update, and I assume you're doing that, John?
No, that will be done by colleagues from Comms. Karen and Lydia are present at the meeting.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah. Well, just before I do move on to them, John, I should have asked, when I was mentioning the latest consultants on the Todmorden Town Board, have you had any feedback from traders about the latest proposals that were at the open day a week or so ago? Have you had any feedback from traders at Todmorden?
The only feedback we're getting from traders, because obviously we've had meetings in the background as well in regards to the 4 options at Todmorden. Most of the comments are based around parking, as you well know, Councillor Dacre. It's a hot topic, really. But there are parking spaces provided in all 4 options. Just because they're taking away the centre of Bram Square, there is another area being created at Rose Street. So it's, I think the secret there is let's let them know what number of spaces are really.
Yeah, well, I did have a conversation with them about that. And also I don't think that their diagrams had made it as clear as they'd intended, that there would be where the loading and unloading areas would be. So I think they may have had to do more explaining than they would have needed to if they'd been more clearly marked.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So in that case, move back to comms and the update, please.
Thank you, Chair. So I'll just highlight a few of the key sections from the report. So it's been a busy and exciting 6 months for market communications. I myself started in December. I feel like I've really got stuck into the role, getting to know the markets team, the traders, customers and their comms and needs and requirements. I am currently working on an annual comms plan, and the objectives there are to increase footfall, recruit traders and promote the events. We've also been refreshing social media and our assets, including more photos and videos to really reach that younger audience. So we've been, the communications team have been supporting the markets with a range of event promotion. One of the highlights being Christmas at Halifax Borough Market. The objective of this campaign was to increase footfall across the Christmas period and really encourage people to buy their food and gifts from the market. The campaign was spread across digital, print, out-of-home advertising, including radio stations and bus stations. And the digital team also created a really nice video sharing the positive stories about the market from shoppers and traders. The comms team also created an elf trail and a hamper competition to further drive interest and footfall. And overall, online that reached around 50,000 people. In February, Ellen Market reopened in its original position, and we ran a campaign to publicise this reopening and really drive interest, encourage people to attend the reopening and the market. The key messages was to emphasise all the work done and promote it as a real positive good news story. And this was spread across social media adverts and flyers around Ellen. The press picked this up before the opening. Halifax Courier, they published a really positive story. And then also after the reopening, the BBC picked this up as well. And again, that was a really nice positive story, showing a picture of the traders, which was really nice. And that the campaign reached around 30,000 people online. Communications team have also been supporting other events such as Halloween, Valentine's Day and Mother's Day. And coming up, we're working on the Easter activities. So we have crafting activities at Halifax Borough Market, and we're running some online competitions to really drive the reach online on social media. Karen, my colleague, also did a major overhaul of all the market web pages on the Calderdale Council website, rewriting all the web copy and adding more information to really entice and interest readers. And then finally, the comms officers for next chapter have been really busy providing communication support for all market improvements. That covers Halifax, Todmorden, Ellen and Brighouse, and most noticeable in Halifax Borough Market, the display boards. So they're the key highlights. Any questions?
Thank you, Lydia. I'm not seeing any questions at the moment. Danielle.
Yes, thank you. I asked you last time about, particularly around social media, I wondered if you'd been able to gather where your most footfall is on that, and because you are linked quite well with some of the Calderdale stuff, if you've developed a hashtag or anything so that you can kind of increase some of the footfall towards some of your media from other people. Because when I look on Halifax Market or Borough Market Halifax, there are people sharing, but obviously not typically using a hashtag that you've developed.
Yeah, well, we did develop a hashtag several years ago, which is Markets Magic, hashtag Markets Magic, and we have been using that still, but I think it probably is time to have a look and review it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually on my on my list for the comms plan is to I've been speaking with the markets about this, John and Lisa especially, just reviewing the hashtags and what we can use. So we're thinking about testing some in Halifax Borough Market, for example, like HX market, and then Easter is one we're going to use for Easter, and seeing how that goes. In regards to Calderdale, we are currently working with them around the communications for their launch on the 13th of April. So we're in contact with their communications team and social folk, isn't it, their agency, yeah, just to link up communications and really increase the reach online.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
So I think it was Scott and then Joe.
Thank you, and yeah, thanks for the report. It's good to see some of the traction and numbers you've got there, and just a cursory look there shows you've got a quite healthy following as well. I'd say just for the, and certainly not criticism, more just a reflection of the Calderdale market site. It's really good. We're doing deep dives and sort of showing what the traders look like. I would say just having looked at the Calderdale markets one, it feels quite Halifax centric, and it might be good to do a little bit of a look outside, and I'd play into the crowd. I'd say Brighouse, and Todmorden clearly, deserve a highlight, but clearly that they're not the only markets in town. But that would be my only thing. I appreciate why that's happened because you work within, Halifax, and I'm sure it's easy to do that. But just if possible to widen the scope on that would be really good.
Yeah, and I just to jump in, Chair, I definitely agree, and it's almost like and when it comes to social media, we do mention Halifax Borough Market a lot, but I think it's like testing out certain content. For example, so we're doing trader spotlight videos. We've only recently started these, but the plan is to roll this out across all of the markets, even if it is a spotlight once a month per market. That's the plan.
Great stuff. Thank you.
Joe?
I think what Scott fails to recognise is that Halifax is, of course, the centre of the universe. Howard has said for many years it's Brighouse, but I would counter that. I just wanted to say on the marketing, I think I've been on markets since I was elected, and I think the branding and the stuff that comes out from the markets is a lot tighter now than it felt like it was a couple of years ago. Like, it's very easy to look at it and look at the fonts and look at the design and be like, that's a market post now. And I think that's really positive because I think it makes it obvious when it's going out on the council and the market pages that it is about the markets. So I think that's a really positive step. And actually, compared to 2 years ago, that is a much bigger improvement. I just wanted to ask about specifically on the social media post about Elland and the advertising. Did the markets team still use paid advertising, or are we because I feel like you can get actually a lot more results just through organic reach, and I think that's something I find in kind of my own social media use. Is that something we're still doing, or is that something that we're kind of leaving behind or only using for specific events?
We did do it for the Elland reopening, and we focused it within the Elland area, so it was really targeted. So yeah, we tried it out for that one, but we do get quite a big organic reach. As we previously mentioned, lots of shares on our post organically.
Okay, thank you, Howard.
Thank you, Chair. And Brighouse still is the centre of the universe. I know Halifax is slowly catching up, so which is great news. It's always good to be everything to be involved. I think in fairness to Brighouse Market, actually, we do have the Waverley consultancy who's been doing quite a bit of marketing in the background. But it might be actually quite worth incorporating them into the Halifax website, actually directing them to progress on the Brighouse Towndale board, which was some of the positive elements that Waverley Consultancy are doing as well. So it's a real combination of doing different things. And we don't want to overlap. We don't just tread on people's toes. So I totally appreciate what Councillor Patience said in relation to making it more borough-wide, but it's equally just a bit of a balance as well. So we get the communications right. But yeah, thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. I suppose what I'd want to know is, we know what following you're getting and what footfall, in inverted commas, you're getting on the media posts, but have you any idea how successful these are in actually increasing footfall within the markets, or is it just not possible? I don't know how you'd measure it, really, short of buttonholing everybody as they came in the door and saying, why are you here?
I think, yeah, it's been difficult to measure in the past how many people, what the footfall was in a kind of meaningful way. But I believe, and Janet might be able to help me out with this one, but I think they've got things in place now, particularly at the borough market, where it's going to be a lot more accurate. So what we can do is, going forward is when we do a targeted campaign, we can then check off from where we were. Because I think part of the funding, Janet, if I'm correct, was you had to increase. It was partly to increase footfall. So yeah, going forward, I think we'll be a lot more accurate and be able to tell. I don't know anecdotally whether John would be able to answer as well, whether he's noticed like an increase in particular, like Easter, for example, or Christmas time.
John?
Yeah, the footfall system we have in Halifax has only been recently installed, but obviously gives us some invaluable information and data and patterns of people's travel across the market in different directions. So obviously, more recently, we've seen doors get a bit quieter because the buses have all gone back to the bus station, but other doors get busier. So we are able to map that now. We can therefore, when we do an advertising campaign, we can monitor footfall and see if it has delivered results. A lot of it also is centered around trade recruitment, and obviously we see that result more or less immediately, really. So there is a lot of things going on. The service, obviously, prior to Lydia starting with the council, ran all the social media, whereas we've now tried to let some of that go and give some of that to corporate comms to run with. But we're still doing that. And so in relation to Council of Bagborough, the town deal, we have I put 4 posts out yesterday for Brighouse Open Market for the town deal. Again, paid for advertising. There's nothing within the service, but comms pick that one up. And then hashtags, we tend to also use the Love Your Local Market branding hashtags, also copying in the National Market Traders Federation, so we get a further national reach on some of our posts. And so I hope that just updates a few comments to members that have asked questions previously.
Thank you. Howard, is that
it's related? So yeah, it was to do with the equally included with that is the Halifax bid will collect data as well, like the Brighouse bid collects data as how many people are coming into the town itself. So it's to add, when you combine it all together, you're hoping actually people will then go through the market and go to the peace stall and wherever. So I know it's really valuable information that we get from the Brighouse bid stuff as well.
Okay, thank you. And Janet.
Yeah, it's just to confirm on all the part of the monitoring evaluation that we have to do on the funding we get from central government on so that's LOVE funding, Towns funding and Future High Street funding. Part of the monitoring evaluation, which goes on for many years afterwards as well, we have to demonstrate that footfall has increased with what we've done. And so there's footfall counters in place, as John's highlighted there at the market, but also around the town as well that have been put in, and Elland also has had them implemented along, and the future ones are going into Brighouse and Todmorden as well. So everything's covered because we almost have to baseline it now before we actually have delivered the work, so that then we can demonstrate how the footfall has increased. So we should start to see that. It's all one company as well that's already used by our colleagues in the visitor economy, so that we can get that really wide for each town, the different footfalls, but we can hone in on specific areas as well. So we should get that data starting to come through.
Yeah, okay. So we still wouldn't necessarily know whether, well, as you say, with the social media, all you could really look for is a spike immediately after a campaign, isn't it? You can't really drill down any more than that, and because you hope that some of the increase will simply be due to the works being done and the environment being better, I suppose. Okay, back to Joe.
Yeah, just on the footfall, I appreciate we haven't got another meeting until September, but if there are any significant changes or we start to get the data through, could that be sent out to this board? More just for curiosity than anything. Cool, thank you.
Yep, no reason why we can't do that, yeah.
Lovely. Okay, any more questions on that? No? Okay, so again, a thank you, Lydia, for that presentation, and thanks to Comms for all the hard work, and of course, as John said, for the markets who are still doing their own as well. And it looks like it's all going the right way. Okay, that takes us on to item 7, Land and Property Asset Management Strategy 2018 to 24, divided into 2 parts. Alan, firstly a review from you and then the delivery plan.
Okay, thanks, Chair. Yeah, as you say, there are 2 parts to the update this time. And as you said in your introduction, Councillor Dacre, the existing strategy runs to 2024 and we're in 2024. So the first part is the review of the strategy and the look ahead. So we've initiated the review process to identify the issues and considerations for the next period. There's work taking place to start to assemble that, engaging with stakeholders to try and build the strategy for the next 3 to 5 years. So as that starts to take shape, we'll bring that back to this meeting when we've got something to discuss, which, looking at the draft work programme, that will be the next meeting in September. So it's really a heads up to say that that work's underway and we'll have something to report next time. So if I move on to the second part, the existing strategy, as you can see, the Q3 monitor remains positive. 8 of the 10 actions are currently rated green, on track, and 1 action has been completed as planned. 1 activity is currently rated as amber, a minor concern. This relates to review of our data management systems, our ICT systems, which have been triggered by changes in another service. Some work's required to identify the capacity to take that work forward, and options are currently being explored. So it's only a minor concern now. It's not a major concern for us. And there's work taking place at the moment, of course, to look at the annual delivery plan for the next year that we'll report into the next meeting as well. So again, very positive. Happy to take any questions on any aspect of the report, Chair.
Okay, thank you for that, Alan. Any questions? No, I'm not seeing any questions. I just wanted to check. Did the employee recruited to the new role to support the community management of assets policy indeed start on the 19th of February?
He did, and she's made a fantastic start. Steve's been working very closely with her to brief her and equip her, and I think it's fair to say, Steve, she's hit the ground running. So a really positive appointment, that Chair, and some real impetus in taking that work forward.
Excellent. I think we'll all can agree that that's very welcome. What's her name?
We've got a number of Fays. It's another Faye Calvert, Chair.
Right. Okay. Thanks. Joe.
Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to ask about the bit that's under amber. I'm aware that, I know Sylvia, you've mentioned this before, that we are undergoing a review of our entire list of assets. Is this what the 1.1 pertains to, or is that different, the review of all the assets we've got?
No, through you, Chair. This is about IT systems.
Right.
So there are a range of ICT systems that we rely on, some of which have been previously managed through our ICT service. They've gone through some changes within the service, which has meant that we need to change the way that we manage some of those systems. So that's the piece of work really that we need to do, which is just in relation to the IT systems that support the delivery of our service.
Yeah, I can understand why Joe said that, because it does talk about core data set being identified for property assets as if you, when it says property, you're saying that's simply ICT property. It's nothing to do with that review of who's got what bit of land where.
No, so that's so the data set is about kind of property data, but it's held on the systems. So it's looking at the information that's held on the systems, but that activity relates to the systems themselves. Further down the delivery plan, 3.1, the asset review programme, that's the piece of work, and there are a number of work streams relating to the review of assets. So in there you'll see there's reference to the workplace office accommodation strategy and the depot strategy that I think Siobhan talked about at the last meeting, Chair. So slightly different kind of angles on the work that we need to do in relation to the management of our assets.
Okay, Joe, do you want?
No, that was kind of just my confusion on it, was when
something
it was
else.
referencing the data set for property assets, and then I appreciate further down it's got the asset review program, so I was just a bit confused. But if it's the ICT systems, it sounds like it's more of a knock-on from changes in another department as well.
Okay. So no more questions about that. So again, well done to everybody for keeping most things in green and completing phase 1 of the, oh dear, what is it? The risk-based programme of condition surveys determined an implementation on track. Is that what you're effectively saying is completed?
Yes, Chair. In relation to that, there was a
say
piece of work
methodology
to kind of develop the approach and, if you like, the transformation of that work. As that then starts to kind of work through, it will just become business as usual, because it's about implementing a process that we've designed and saying confirmed.
Okay, thank you. So that's noted by us. Thank you. And then that takes us on. If we do the draft work programme briefly first before we move on to the exempt item right at the end. So, Alan, I mean, you've sent us a draft work programme, so I don't know whether there's anything you want to say about that, or whether there's anything members want to say or add or
just to say it's a provisional work programme for the next municipal year, working on the dates that we've got scheduled for future meetings. Of course, it may be subject to change, but if any members have any thoughts about things that they're particularly interested in, so one of the meetings, well, both meetings look quite heavy at the moment in terms of items, but if there are other things that members would like to see discussed, then please let us know today or in advance of future meetings, and we'll programme those in. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. And so nobody's actually the exempt item. So if you can tell me when switched off, please.
I'm sorry, Chair, I'm not really sure where we should switch this off. Does anybody else know? Just look through in security.
I have absolutely no idea.
If you, Diane, is there a YouTube at the top of the screen? There might be a YouTube at the top of on your